The Galactic Empire had seen thousands of wars. Planets fell like dust. Races surrendered before the first warning shot. But Earth said nothing. Their fleet arrived in silence. 10,000 starships surrounded Earth's orbit like a faun. Giant iron ring. They blocked sunlight. They cut off communications. People on Earth looked up and saw nothing but warships dotting the main ship of the Empire. Admiral Carthos stared at the blue planet. "Send the message," he ordered. A voice rang out across all channels. "This is the supreme voice of the Zarkith. Empire, Earth, surrender your planet, your people, and your weapons. You have 24 hours. If you do not obey, you will face complete destruction." A message echoed across Earth's networks. Panic broke out. News channels ran non-stop. Presidents, generals, scientists, they all gathered in underground bunkers. Fear was everywhere. But one man, Rainer Holt, was not afraid. He was not a president. He wasn't a general. He was a quiet man living in a cold base in Antarctica. He had no army. He had no fleet. But he had access to something hidden, something old, something powerful. The world didn't know him, but the Empire would. Inside the underground chamber, Rainer stood before a glowing terminal. He pressed his hand against it. The machine recognized him. The floor shook. Deep below, something mechanical woke up. The lights turned red. Project Revenant. Online, Rainer didn't smile. He just spoke 2 words. Send reply. Inside the command ship of the Zarkith Empire, Admiral Carthos received a new transmission. "Sir, it's a response from Earth." The Admiral raised an eyebrow. "From their leader?" "No, sir," said the officer. "It's from one man." The Admiral laughed. "Play it." A voice echoed through the ship. Calm. Clear. "You want war?" "I accept it." That was it. No army. No threats. Just one sentence. But something was wrong. Seconds later, power signals from Earth spiked. Radar systems inside the Empire fleet began showing unknown energy readings coming from Antarctica. "Admiral, something's moving under the ice," a soldier reported. "And it's not human tech." Suddenly, a pulse wave hit the fleet. Not strong enough to destroy, but strong enough to shut down every scanner for 5 seconds. 5 seconds of blindness. In war, that's a lifetime. Track it now. Carthos yelled. "What did they launch?" The officer's hands flew across controls. We don't know, sir. It's not a missile. It's cloaked." Silence filled the bridge. Back on Earth, Rainer walked toward a hidden hangar beneath the ice. Inside was a black warship. Sleek, silent, built not by Earth, but with knowledge from something ancient. Something buried for centuries. No one else had ever flown it. Only Rainer had the key. He stepped inside. The ship lit up. The walls hummed with power. The cockpit greeted him like an old friend. "Welcome back, Commander Holt." News spread across Earth in whispers. "Did you hear?" One man sent a message back to the Empire. "Just one? No army?" "No." But something woke up in Antarctica. Fear turned into curiosity. Curiosity into hope. Who was this man? In the Empire fleet, ships prepared to fire. But still, no attack came. Carthos began to sweat. This is not normal. No leader sends a single man to answer a fleet. Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. He didn't know that Revenant had launched. He didn't know Rainer was already above Earth. He didn't know the Empire had just awakened the last thing they ever wanted to see. And far above, hidden in the blackness of space, one ship small and deadly watched them all. Rainer stared at the glowing display in front of him. His fingers moved across controls like a pianist playing a deadly song. A countdown began on his screen. Target lock? 15,487 ships. Status. Ready. Rayner leaned back in his seat. For now, he waited. The Empire would make the next move, but Earth had already replied, and the galaxy was about to learn what one human could do when pushed too far. Asterisk, the Revenant had no crew, no flags, no mercy. It moved like a ghost through the stars, invisible to sensors, silent to scanners. Even light bent around it. Rayner sat in the pilot's chair, surrounded by holographic maps and alien symbols. The ship responded not to buttons, but to thought. This wasn't human technology. This was something older, something left behind, something Earth had hidden. 5 hours earlier, Antarctica Base 0 deep under the ice, alarms screamed. Ancient reactors hummed back to life. For 73 years, Project Revenant had slept, designed in secret, forgotten by governments, buried by history. Rayner had been its last protector. As a young soldier, he had seen the danger coming. He had watched as Earth's leaders traded peace for comfort. So he vanished into the ice. Now, the time had come. Revenant rose from its cradle of steel and frost. Its body was jet black, its surface covered in shifting alien runes. A single glowing eye lit up at the nose of the ship, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Back in orbit, the Zarkith Empire's sensors blinked in confusion. "Admiral," a technician shouted. "Something is moving between our ships." Admiral Karthos stepped forward. "What kind of vessel?" "I don't know, sir. It's not there, and yet it is. It's like shadows that block the stars." Then, one by one, the Empire's outer defense drones began to vanish. No explosions, no alerts, just gone, like something had erased them. Inside the Revenant, Rayner watched without emotion. The ship's AI spoke softly. "Tactical scan complete. Targets vulnerable. No resistance detected." Rayner blinked, and the HUD zoomed in on the nearest destroyer. Empire warship 221X crew. 900 shields, online weapons. Active, but they had one fatal flaw: predictability. Rayner whispered, "Begin Ghost Strike Protocol." The ship vanished. Onboard warship 221X, the crew heard a strange sound, a low hum, like thunder underwater. Lights flickered. The main console glitched. Then the floor split open. A beam of dark blue energy ripped through the center of the ship, cutting it in half like paper. No alarm, no warning. Just silence. And then nothing. 900 soldiers died in one instant. On the command bridge, Admiral Karthos was pale. "What happened to 221X?" "Gone, sir. No debris, no signal. Just gone." Karthos's lips trembled. "We are the Empire. We've crushed 1,000 worlds. What is doing this?" His second-in-command turned to him. "Sir, I think this is the reply." Back on the Revenant, Rayner sat still. More warships moved into formation. They had no idea where he was. They didn't realize he was already inside their lines. The ship didn't fly like a fighter. It slipped through space. It listened to the rhythm of enemy engines, then moved between their pulses. Revenant wasn't a weapon. It was a predator. On Earth, the media had no clue what was happening. The skies looked calm. The Empire was still above them. But a few scientists were watching data spikes from orbit. "Something is removing ships," one whispered. "No missiles, no launches, no sign of attack." "It's him," said another. "It's that man," the one who answered. Around the world, people stared at silent skies and waited. In the deepest part of the Revenant's control deck, a memory file opened. A hologram appeared, an old general speaking to a younger Rayner. "If the Empire ever comes, don't run to politicians. Don't call the UN. Don't beg. You walk into the dark and light it up. Rayner closed his eyes. He whispered, "Time to light the sky." In the next hour, 47 ships vanished. No traces. No distress calls. Nothing. Carthos screamed for answers, but there were none. His fleet was bleeding. And he didn't even know who to aim at at the end of the second day. A new message came in. It was from the Revenant. Just text. "This is your only warning. Leave Earth or disappear." The galaxy had never seen anything like this. Not even the Empire. 40-7 warships gone without fire, without warning, without war. And now, inside the command ship of the Empire fleet, Admiral Carthos stood frozen. His hands clenched the rail. His heart raced. "Find it," he whispered. "Find the ghost ship." But there was nothing to find. No trail. No heat. No shadow. Just empty space. And fear. At the edge of the fleet. Rayner Holt sat in the Revenant's black cockpit, eyes locked on the holographic screen. Around him, thousands of enemy ships hovered like a steel swarm. Destroyers, dreadnoughts, assault carriers, everything the Empire had sent. But Rayner didn't flinch. He wasn't looking for a fair fight. He was here to teach them fear. The AI voice broke the silence. Target lock acquired. 9,411 ships in. Strike range. Rayner leaned forward. Begin pattern strike. Maximum pressure. The Revenant systems hummed. Light warped around its hull. Then, without sound, it moved. On board the Empire's 7th carrier fleet. "Sir, something is—" Blinding pulse of blue cracked through the hull. The ship folded in on itself, imploding like crushed metal. 1,000 lives gone in under a second. Another destroyer nearby lit up from within its core reactor, overheating without warning. The crew didn't even have time to scream. Inside, the Revenant trainer's hands danced across invisible controls. The ship responded instantly. It wasn't just faster. It was smarter. Every enemy movement was predicted. Every weak point exposed. The Revenant didn't fire missiles, act weapons. Overloaded cores tore into ships with surgical beams. It fought like it knew the future. Because it did. It was built for one pilot. Built for this moment. Command ship. Empire High Bridge Admiral Carthos roared. "Who is this man? Who trained him?" Silence. Then a quiet officer spoke. "Sir, there are stories, old records, about a man in Antarctica, about something buried deep beneath the ice." The Admiral's voice shook. "Why didn't we destroy Earth when we arrived?" No one answered. Because now it was too late. Across the galaxy, other species watched the broadcast secretly. The Empire had silenced them for centuries. Now they saw warships dying, battleships exploding from within, an entire fleet being hunted. And it was one human, Revenant. Became a word of hope. Rayner became a ghost, a symbol, a storm. Inside, the Revenant trainer whispered to himself, "Let them see. Let them remember what fear feels like." He marked the next wave. 5 dreadnoughts locked onto him. He let them. They fired. The Revenant split into light, flickering like shattered glass, and reappeared behind them. One by one, they vanished. 5 shots. 5 kills. No misses. On Earth, people finally saw the live feed. News screens glowed in cities, villages, bunkers. Children watched with wide eyes. Soldiers saluted screens. Civilians cried. One man was fighting for all of them, not just for Earth, but for every voice silenced by the Empire. Empire's command ship. Final alert. Admiral. Over 300 ships destroyed in 15 minutes. We are being butchered. Carthos collapsed into his chair. Retreat. Now. Pull all ships back. But it was too late. Rayner had already jammed their long-range drives. They were trapped, and he was just getting started. Raynor's voice echoed again across all frequencies. Calm, cold, final. You wanted war. You got it. I am not your army. I am your answer. As the Revenant rose into the center of the dying fleet, the stars reflected off its dark surface. It looked like a blade, and it was. Asterisk Imperial Palace, Throne of Stars. Zarkith Prime, the Emperor of the Zarkith Empire, sat alone in a cold chamber of stone and light. 10 towering screens hovered in front of him, each showing chaos from orbit above Earth. Explosions, disappearing ships, screaming captains. Static. He clenched his golden staff. Then the final image came in one human ship rising above the wreckage. Of 900 destroyed vessels. The Emperor's fingers trembled. This is not possible. A trembling voice broke the silence. High Minister Varn stood behind him, pale as ice. Your Highness, he whispered, the fleet is falling. One human is silence, the Emperor snapped. One human cannot crush an empire, but deep down, he knew. He had seen that ship before, long ago. Flashback -87. Years ago, the Emperor had once walked the ruins of an ancient world on the galaxy's edge. There, buried in the sand, he found a warning written in strange glowing language. If this vessel awakens, run. He laughed at the time. He wasn't laughing now. Back in present, Time Rainer Holt's voice echoed across all known space. You rule with fear. I fight with memory. I am the storm you buried. I am Revenant. The Emperor's legs weakened. He sat back on his throne, and for the first time in 300 years, he felt fear. Somewhere in the galaxy, the resistance zone dozens of small alien rebel ships received the broadcast. Many of them had long given up hope. Hunted, broken, scattered. But now, one human was standing where entire fleets had fallen. An insect-like captain turned to his crew. This human... He is doing what we dreamed of. Another whispered, what if he's not just a warrior? What if he's a message? Meanwhile, on board the Revenant trainer's eyes scanned the next fleet. His face was calm, but inside, his heart carried weight. He wasn't just fighting ships. He was fighting history. Each time he destroyed an enemy vessel, he saw flashes of Earth's past cities bombed, colonies erased, friends taken. I'm not your hero, he muttered. I'm your consequence. Empire's command channel, emergency meeting generals shouted. Maps blinked red. Advisors panicked. One commander slammed the table. He's not just using weapons. We've detected language pulses psychology. Warfare, signal corruption. He's bending our systems. Another officer whispered, he's not fighting like us? Because he's not one of us. A third replied, he's human. Silence. Inside the Imperial Palace, the Emperor stared at a glass of wine on the table. It began to shake. The vibration came from deep space. Then a screen blinked. Incoming signal origin. Revenant. He leaned in. Raynor's face appeared. Calm. Focused. Tired. He didn't yell. He simply said, your fear is the proof. Your empire ends with you. The signal cut. Back on Earth. Global reaction people had no more fear. They had something else now. Fire. Young people gathered in streets, waving old Terran flags. Underground freedom cells across other worlds replayed Raynor's broadcast. A boy in Africa looked up at the stars and said, maybe we're not small anymore. Zarkith Prime, secret hallway, an old general approached the Emperor quietly. My lord, if I may, there is one way. The Emperor turned slowly. Speak. The general's voice was dry. Use the crimson dagger. The Emperor blinked. That ship was never completed. It is now. The crimson dagger. A weapon of last resort. faster than light, more brutal than logic. It had one mission: kill the Revenant's pilot. Meanwhile, on the Revenant trainer had seen the future long before it arrived, and he knew they would send something worse. He looked out into the black sea of stars and whispered, "Send your best. I'm ready." Revenant, dark sector of space. The stars around Raynor dimmed as the ship slowed to a crawl. The galaxy was quiet here, too quiet. His AI whispered, "Multiple long-range signals incoming. One of them is encrypted with old Earth code." Raynor blinked. "Earth code?" The screen flashed. "Sender, Commander Lyra Kess. Status, classified, Ghost Division." Raynor sat up straight. He hadn't heard that name in 14 years. Flashback, Earth. 14 years ago, Lyra had been his partner, both in war and something more. She was fierce, brilliant, and the only one Raynor ever trusted to fly at his side. They trained together, they bled together, they vanished together during the final test flight of Project Revenant. But only he returned. The world believed she was dead. So did he. Until now. Back to present. Patch it through, Raynor ordered. A familiar voice cracked through the static. "Raynor, if you hear this, I need help. They found me. I didn't want to join them. Please, come." Then coordinates appeared. A single planet, cold, abandoned. Illyria-7. The AI warned. Signal carries Zarkith encryption buried inside. Raynor paused, then whispered, "I know," and set course anyway. Planet Illyria, 7 to 3 hours later. Snow covered the ruined outpost. The sky was red. Winds howled. Revenant hovered quietly above the frozen ground. Raynor stepped out, armed but cautious. He walked through the silent base. Walls scorched, lights dead, doors ripped open by claws or worse. And then he saw her. Lara. Alive. But changed. She wore dark armor. Not Empire uniform, something worse. Custom. Deadly. Alien tech mixed with Terran. Design. Raynor stopped in his tracks. "Lyra." She turned slowly. Her eyes glowed faintly blue. "You came," she whispered. Raynor studied her. "What happened?" She looked down. "They found me. The Empire. They gave me a choice. Die or serve." "And you chose them?" He asked. Voice like steel. "I chose survival." Suddenly, a soft beep came from her wrist. Empire signal. Raynor's eyes narrowed. This was a trap. She raised her hand slowly. "No, Raynor. I just wanted to see you before it ends." The ground shook. Black shapes dropped from the sky. Empire assassins. Dozens of them. Lyra stepped back. "I didn't tell them to kill you, but they're here now. You need to run." Raynor didn't move. "I don't run." Fight begins. Raynor rolled behind cover, drawing his pulse blade. Assassins swarmed the outpost, but they weren't ready for him. His strikes were clean. Every move deadly. Revenant's AI fed data to his wrist screen, mapping every enemy. Lyra stood frozen. Then she moved. She fought them too. She wasn't loyal to the Empire. She was lost, broken, caught in between. Together, they cut through the attackers, barely. Surviving. After the battle, smoke filled the air. Snow melted from burning walls. Raynor leaned against a pillar, bleeding. "You were better than this, Lyra." "I know," she said. "But I couldn't win alone." Raynor looked at her for a long time. Then tossed her a cum chip. "Get off this planet. You choose who you are now. Not them." She caught it. Her hands trembled. "Will I see you again?" Raynor turned toward his ship. "I don't know." And left. Inside Revenant, moments later, the AI spoke. "That was unwise." "She is compromised," Raynor answered. "She's still human. Sometimes that's more dangerous than a weapon." Meanwhile, Empire flagship Far Orbit, the Emperor watched the scene through a stolen feed. He grinned. So, the Ghost has a weakness. He turned to his engineers. Prepare the Crimson Dagger. Set its course. Now we finish this. Asterisk Selther. Prime, capital of the Zarketh Empire, was the beating heart of the Empire. A world wrapped in golden towers, endless sky fortresses, and 12 orbiting planetary shields, each powered by a black sun core. No enemy had ever reached it. No weapon had ever touched its walls. But now, something was coming. Something old. Something human. Inside the throne tower. The Emperor stood before his generals. You said he would fall, he said quietly. None answered. He turned slowly. He destroyed 3,000 ships, escaped every trap, crushed our elite assassins. And now, he's coming here. Still no answer. Then the Emperor raised his voice, roaring like thunder. What is left to throw at him? A general stepped forward, trembling. The Crimson Dagger is launched. It will intercept him outside the capital system. The Emperor didn't speak. He only whispered. Then pray. It works. Edge of Selther system. Revenant in motion. Rainer Holt sat silently inside the Revenant's cockpit, eyes locked forward. The stars twisted around him. The AI chimed in. Entering Selther defense zone. 12 planetary shields detected. Estimated defense, 1,300 cannons. Threat level, absolute. Rainer smiled. Perfect. Suddenly an alarm sounded. Unidentified vessel approaching extreme velocity. A long red spear-shaped ship screamed through space toward the Revenant. The Crimson Dagger, faster than light. Built for one purpose. Kill Rainer Holt. The dagger fired first. A beam of red fire tore across space. Revenant twisted sideways, slipping. Past the blast. Its shields flared. Metal hissed. Then. Revenant struck back, but the dagger was learning. For the first time in this war, Rainer was in a real fight. Battle in the black. The two ships danced between stars like gods of death. Dagger used predictive strikes. The Revenant used intuition. Rainer pushed his mind to the limit. Every move, every second. His reflexes stretched between thought and destruction. Then impact. A side missile from the dagger clipped the Revenant's hull. The cockpit trembled. AI. Damaged outer layer. Reactor holding. Recommend tactical. Retreat. Rainer wiped blood from his lip. Not retreating. Not now. Selther Prime. The people watch. Billions stared at the sky. On every screen, the red dagger fought the black Revenant. Some cheered. Some feared. Some hoped. In orbit, the turning point. Rainer closed his eyes. Slowed his breathing. Then whispered. Override pattern. Ghost Vector 5. The AI paused. That maneuver was banned. Too dangerous. Rainer replied, Do it. The Revenant bent. Space around it. Not cloaking. Not teleporting. It blurred. Then it reappeared inside the Crimson Dagger's shield field. Too close. Too fast. Rainer fired one blast directly into the dagger's heart. The red ship exploded in silence. The Emperor's last weapon was gone. Now. Nothing stood between Rainer and the Empire's capital. He moved forward. Alarms blared across. Selther Prime. 12 shields activated. Cannons locked on. Rainer didn't stop. Instead, he did the impossible. He flew into the sun, black sun core. Beneath Shield Station 4, the Revenant burrowed through the energy field and reached the dark core. It absorbed power, twisted it, then used it against them. The shields began collapsing one by one. Panic spread across the planet. Military bases locked down. The Emperor watched in horror as his last line of defense fell like glass. Rainer's final message to every screen, every speaker, every star system that ever felt the Empire's grip. Raynor spoke. You built your kingdom on silence. I bring the sound of the end. No more war. No more thrones. No more fear. This is the fall of your empire. Revenant descended, not as a ship, not as a symbol, not as justice, not as revenge. At the towers of Selther trembled. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Civilians flooded the streets, many cheering, others falling to their knees. That no one stopped him, because by now they all knew one human had brought them to their knees. Inside the palace, the Emperor looked up as the Revenant hovered above his tower. He whispered, almost with respect, "So this is how empires die." Selther Prime, Throne Tower. Final hour. The Emperor stood alone in his golden throne room. The walls were cracked, the windows shattered. The skies above were black, no longer from storm, but from the shadow of a single human warship hovering. Just overhead, the REVENANT. No armies followed it. No banners waved behind it. That it didn't come to conquer, that it came to end things. Raynor Holt entered the palace alone. Got no armor, got no army, got no crown. He walked through shattered halls where statues of emperors lay broken. Where once soldiers bowed, now only silence remained. Until they met face to face. Raynor. The Emperor. Two men. Two legacies. The Emperor broke the silence. You destroyed my fleet. You killed my generals. You crushed the throne. He stepped forward, eyes full of fire. But tell me, human, what do you stand for? Is this revenge? Justice? Pride? Raynor stared back, voice calm. I stand for what you silenced. He stepped closer. For every colony you erased. For every child born under your flag and buried under your bombs. For Earth, for memory, for choice. The Emperor raised a blade, one forged from the star metal of a dying system. You will die here. Raynor said nothing. The Emperor charged, but the fight was over before it began. The Revenant had already calculated every move. Raynor's blade flashed once, and the Emperor dropped to his knees. His weapon fell. He looked up, bleeding, defeated, not by strength, but by truth. Why didn't you kill me? The Emperor gasped. Raynor turned away. Because if I do, no one will remember who you really were. He dropped a data crystal on the floor containing every secret, every hidden genocide, every cruel order. Let history bury you properly. Raynor walked out. The Emperor screamed his last words into an empty hall. Later, across the galaxy, the image of Raynor Holt stepping out of the throne tower alone became legend. Billions watched as the Revenant rose from Selther Prime and disappeared into the stars. The Empire collapsed in hours. Systems declared independence. All chains broke. And Earth became the voice of the free. Months later, Earth Raynor sat quietly on a mountain cliff, overlooking the sunrise. A news drone hovered nearby, projecting headlines. Zarketh Empire officially dissolved. Freedom Charter signed on 9 worlds. Children in 14 systems now learn galactic history. Written by survivors. Raynor turned off the drone. He didn't care for statues or medals. He had done what needed to be done. And the galaxy would never be the same. Meanwhile, across the stars, the Revenant now traveled without war. It became a guardianship symbol. Whispers spoke of it appearing when tyrants rose again. Of one man, or maybe another, taking the helm. Some say Raynor still flies it. Others say it waits. But no one forgets what it meant. And as legends grew, one phrase echoed across space. They demanded war. One human answered. And an empire fell without mercy and without sound. End of final part. The Empire that died in silence.